As a music producer, we all get beat block. And I think one of the most common things that happens with beat block is just coming up with the right chord progression, or at least a chord progression that sounds interesting and doesn't sound too corny. But just like any type of beat block you get, you can start from that corny place and you can manipulate what you're doing to make it sound interesting. And for chord progressions, one trick I really love to do is taking a very common chord progression, which is specifically either 1-6-4-5 or 1-4-6-5 in a major key, and simply take out the 1 and just use the other chords in the progression. And I'm going to show you how well this works in 3 different genres. Make sure you stick around to the end and let me know your favorite one. So I want to start off with like a really lush sound to show this. And I'm using one of my favorite plugins, Emulator. It's part of the Arturia V Collection, and they just updated the whole collection with some amazing instruments. So we're in the key of C, and let's do a 1-6-4-5. So again, the trick is really simple. Just take out the 1, and we're only going to mess with the 4, the 5, and the 6. For the first round, let's start on the 4, and we're just going to go 4, 5, 6, and we're going to play within that sequence. And then I can add some passing notes, like I could go to the E in the bass going back into the F. And I'm feeling something like hip-hop-ish, funky. One thing I love to do to just speed up sort of how I feel the track should be, like the vibe of the track, what it should be, is using Splice Bridge. And I have this drum loop here that is perfect and just gives it a little feel and gives me a little bit more to work with in terms of what I want to record with how the chords are played. If we dissect these chords a bit, I'm doing some nice inversions here. So F in the bass, of course. So we've got the 7, the 3, and the 5. And then just a simple inverted triad on the G. Same thing on the A minor. We have that parallel movement. Then where things get interesting is the turnaround here. Basically an E minor 7 chord, and it just works well going back into that F. Again, that parallel movement. So once again, we've gone from heart and soul basically to something a lot more interesting. We've got a nice A minor 9 chord, super lush. Kind of brought this E minor passing chord up a little bit. So that leads nicely going back into the 1. So on the A minor we have here, we actually have the 13 here, that D. So super lush chords makes a huge difference because, again, this is kind of a common chord progression. You hear this type of chord progression used a lot. So the more interesting you can make the chord structures in terms of, are you doing inversions? Are you adding extensions? Are you using passing notes? That goes a super long way. So let's build out a little drum pattern now. And so I didn't like the snare I have. I'm bringing in a new one. And what you can do too is just clean up some of this air here to make it sound a little punchier. Just a side note tip that if you're sending your drums to a bus, which you should be doing, you're likely processing it. You're putting some compression, some limiting. And if you're programming drums with samples from Splice or basically anywhere else, most of those samples are normalized. So you want to bring down the gain a little bit if you're going to add some processing. I want to mess around with some bass and then I'm going to add a lot more, but this bass is actually giving me all types of ideas. Back to Arturia, the new collection includes the Jupiter 8000. Love this plugin so much, especially the bass sound. It's really easy to manipulate different parameters. And I want to make this sound super soulful using really the pentatonic scale, A minor pentatonic. And then just to take this up a notch, I wanted to add some like pulsating sounds of some sort as part of Mini Brute. This is also one of the new instruments in Arturia V's new collection, updated collection. I'm just cleaning this up a little bit because it's a little bit too much going on chordal wise. It's a little bit more interesting. I added some shaper box. Example, I want to go a little bit more left field, back to emulator, again one of my favorites. This is also one of my favorite patches of like any plugin, is under their brass and wind sections, this instrument called shakuhachi, something like that. So you got to hear how crazy this is. On this track, I'm going to start with the 6 instead of starting with the 4, and I've got Splice bridge set up. I want to make something drum and bass. I really like this hi-hat. Find some drum sounds. So these extra little snare hits here go a long way, and then I've got a trill going back into this section. So now to fill this out just a little bit more, I want to add some keys, some texture that's a little bit more like lead sounding. So this is another Arturia V Collection, new one here, Pure Lofi. Really, really amazing sounds in here, especially for other genres too. And again, all these parameters you can change. I really like how this sounds just in the default. The bass, I have the Serum preset from Splice that is perfect for drum and bass. For the last track, I want to make some Afro house. Let's find some drums. And first off, I want to do like kind of something pulsating, just something simple, one note. And I'm coming back to Arturia's Pure Lofi. Again, this is part of the Arturia V Collection update. And I love the texture of this. It's got a nice shaker loop from Splice here. Need some chords over this. This time we're starting on A minor and we're moving our way down A minor, so the 6 to the 5. To the 4. Again, what goes a really long way is we're going to add a passing E minor going into the F. And the last thing I want to add here is just something with a little bit more of a pronounced transient. Everything's kind of airy that we have so far. So I've got augmented grand piano, another Arturia gem. And sometimes this can get muddy because we have a couple layers now, so I might take this out because this is the 7 for the E minor. It could be muddying things up a little too. It's a little cleaner. Get our percussion going in here. So now let's start building out our drums. So I want to see what else we can add back to Splice Bridge for some inspiration. And you can hear how there's some reverb going on with this loop. So I just want to clean that up a little bit. One of the best ways to do this is using Native Instruments Transient Shaper here. And just to fill this out, I want to add some bass. So I hope this goes to show you how you can take one progression that you can hear in a lot of different music and just use that almost as a starting point for any production in any genre. You can see how well this works, and you can switch around things. So I started with the 4 in some cases, started with the 6 in others, and you can do the same. Put those passing tones in, put those extensions in, make it sound interesting, and you got yourself a little secret to always making something fire.